Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Harmony. I am a twin flame expert helping twin flames around the globe face fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Welcome to my weekly glow show. Today's topic is twin flames. We are coming into full color. And what does that mean? It means we're coming into full alignment with all of who we are. And that means we are finding our truth, and that we are then recreating ourselves, our sacred self, from the highest place and our highest good of what we came here to sign up to experience. And therefore, we are creating new identities in this new earth heart language, in this new chapter that we're moving into. And I always say shift or be shifted. And as you know, if you've been following me, I have been shifted. And I'm going to tell you about that story, but surprise, welcome to my new identity. Again, if you watched the last video, you're going to really know what this means to me, being brown and coming here to present today. But what I have to say is that no matter where you are, everything is always working out for you. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to change or not, whether you want to align or not, wherever you are is exactly where you need to be. So what we're doing in these new identities is coming full circle with our soul's evolutionary journey. And this has happened collectively. This is happening in the universal collection of all that is and all the energy. And what that means is, I just want to give you a little kind of science behind it, spiritual science. We're merging spirituality and science here. We're retrieving our soul. And when I say retrieving our soul, we're pulling together our ancient wisdom of our crones from the past experiences that we have gained in our higher consciousness that are up there needing to be unlocked, tapped into, and downloaded to awaken us to these new identities and to who we are, so we can bring into form what we signed up for with that wisdom. But then we are also tapping into more of our passionate side, our creativity, so that we can come into and give birth to this new energy, this new being that we are, because as we do that, we're changing the vibration of not only ourselves and the highest good of who we are, but we're doing that collectively, and the collective consciousness is changing and shifting the entire vibration. So it's creating the oneness of ourselves, the oneness of, you know, the source, and the oneness with our beloveds, and the oneness with all it is. And I've been saying this for a year, and we are like here. This is just what's happening now. And so in that, also know, when I talk about we incarnate each lifetime from a different ray, a color ray of the spectrum of God's color of love, the white light of God, and the energy aspect, each lifetime we're coming from a different color that connects to a different characteristic, a different virtue, different guides and angels that we are to work with to help assist us on this journey and that we're to tap into for our soul's mission. Well, as we are doing that and we're coming into that full color of ourselves, retrieving our soul and coming into oneness, this is where we're recreating the new identities. But to do that, you've had to find your truth. Now, I got to tell you, this is all about my second book that will be coming out as soon as it can get out. I mean, most of it is out and all the content is. It's about packaging it. But I've also been shown other things that I'm to kind of put in the forefront of that, kind of blend it together with some other things. So I was pulled away a little bit from that to be a little bit more urgent to help people get into their soul's purpose and mission with some packages and programs that I've created that I've been shown even prior from a long time ago, that I'm bringing that to the forefront before the books come out. But in this retrieval, we are coming full color, as I said. And that means we're coming into the full alignment of ourselves, which means I've talked about the contrast and the duality. It means that we're tapping into a side of us that we have cut off and that we've resisted and we haven't like changed for. And we've going through the process of this. We've created the seasons of our personal self that as we go through the seasons, we go through the winter time of the death. And then we come into the springtime of rebirth. And then we go through the summertime of growth and expansion, right? And then we come into the fall, which is reflection. And this brings us through these seasons that create these cycles of our life that we're all revisiting these planetary evolutionary cycles of revisiting things that we've done over the past year, 10 years, 20 years. Like, this is happening like for everyone, and I'm seeing it with clients, and I know it's happening with all of you out there as well. So take note of this if you're just coming into this, that if you're repeating something, it's not that you're repeating it to be going backwards. You're repeating it to retemplate it in the new way, in the new you, in the like healing process. Because I've had some really cool things, you know, happen to me over the last week. I'm going to share with you to kind of piggyback an update with things with my own journey. And it just falls straight into alignment with this. So let's just, I guess, start with that in an aspect of, if you watched my last video, and if you haven't, be sure I'll put a link, be sure to watch it. But I was very resistant to a epic hair failure that forced me into 6 hours of complete trauma to my hair, that was forcing it into something it wasn't, because brunette is my natural color. And for 25 years, I have been a blonde, or at least blonde highlights. And I have wanted that. I have fought to make it happen. I have done everything that I could do, because my hair always resisted being blonde. And we would like do whatever it took to get it there. And it usually would be like a 3 to 4 hour process. But when people worked with it to get it in that aspect, it would do that. And I had a hairdresser that had life shifted for multiple things. And so I was forced to find a new hairdresser to work with somebody on a different scale that wasn't able to do what I needed. First of all, it was because the salon would not use heat on bleach, which is what my hair took, forcing that to happen. And she would say a few different times, like, I believe in working with it, not against it, you know. And as I mentioned in the last video, we went through an entire twin flame journey and a connection of even a past life that we had out of just meeting that person that sent us into the stratosphere for some kind of purging and clearing. And as bad as it felt like what I was going through, you know, I hit her in some form of a trauma of where she needed to release, and having had just ended a relationship a week prior to my walking in, and her not even wanting to show up that day. But then meeting me, she knew she was supposed to, but then, you know, she also made it her mission to try to make this happen and change for me. And, you know, I knew that was my hair. I could see the lessons, but it didn't change the fact that I didn't want to be going through it. I didn't want to be forced to be brunette. I didn't want to be forced to create a new identity, because when I walked out of there, I thought, okay, I have to find somewhere different, or somebody different that can work with it and get it more to the blonde, right? So then I go to look up places close to me to find a salon by the name of Hollywood Blonde. And of course I thought, oh, if it's Hollywood Blonde, they can surely get my hair blonde, right? So they did an initial consultation with me, and she's like, this is going to be a staging process. Your hair is totally, totally damaged. And out of all the time, she'd never even saw somebody's hair that looked as such a nightmare as mine, as far as all these different colors. Like, I had all these different colors. I had this brass, I had orange, I had yellow, I had more yet different shades of yellow. I had no blonde in it. I even went through green. And so, and then a painted on type of an ambrosia technique of some form of a caramel looking thing that like wasn't even painted on right to give the ambrosia effect. And I had this mess everywhere. And I know from the last video, I had a few people saying to me, well, it doesn't look so bad, you know, like I can't really tell in the video, but you should have saw it. It was very dingy and just completely dead. So in this new person, and I go there, she says, you know, so I discover, okay, I'm surrendering, right? Like that's the first thing we have to do. We have to let go of fighting to do something that maybe we're not meant to do. And first of all, for me, all that time I had been fighting to have blonde hair. Well, I got to tell you something how that links too, as I was going to say. When I graduated chiropractic school and I went into becoming a chiropractor, all the time I had been a brunette. And going into my chiropractic field, I shifted and went through a transition, and it's one of these cycles of life I'm talking about of myself. And I went into being blonde with a whole new hair change. And for 25 years, I had been blonde with a couple hairstyle changes in between. But as most of you know by now, I'm going out of being a chiropractor as of next month in September, and I will no longer be practicing chiropractic to be, I was already full-time on my mission. That was still just part of my serving to show up one day a week, but it no longer was serving me purpose to do that I have different things I need to put my attention to for forward motion now. And so I've had to like step out of that. And then, you know, all of with what was happening there, what I'm saying here is that I went into that season, that cycle of my life as blonde. I'm going out of that cycle of my life 25 years later as going back to being a brunette out of not a conscious choice, but seeing the total lesson in it, that it's about us not hiding who we are. It's about us not like trying to be somebody we're not. And I'm not going to say I'm never going to be blonde again. But I will tell you that the brunette is here to stay for I don't know how long. But in that process of this person, you know, like changing my hair brunette last Friday on the hairdresser number 2, I was also supposed to be there. So I ended up exactly where I needed to be for both of these hairdressers. And the one helping me shift out of this blonde that felt devastating, one helping me shift and transition into being a brunette. And the meeting with her, I have to tell you, she also went through a divorce back, I think, at the end of last year. She's a single mother. She is just getting out from her parents on her own with her children. And she had this spider I mentioned on her chest. And I had been fearful of spiders, you know, my whole life. In fact, it sent me to the hospital before for having cluster or like an anxiety panic attack, just seeing a spider or even being talked about with spiders. I would go into these panic attacks, couldn't breathe, and have to literally my blood pressure would go to like 190 over 100, and I'd have to get oxygen, and an ambulance would have to come and everything. And so this spider thing was big, and I realized that the spider is connected to recreation. And, you know, here, this beautiful soul that's helping me recreate they're all about recreation with the spider. But as I went back, not just from the consultation and saw the spider mentioned, as we're talking more about my journey and her about where her journey is, you know, she says to me these things. She goes, I don't even know if I believe in karma, but I feel like I was purifying my soul to go through all of this. And the 20+ year marriage was so painful to leave that it broke my heart. And so the spider was in a web originally, but out of that spider in her tattoo came 2 webs on each side with 2 broken hearts. And she said she needed that experience with this ex-husband to recreate and heal her own heart. And she knew it was about going through something that created who she was in a new person and letting go of her past to the point that she knew what she needed. She knows nothing about all these things I come here and talk about. She might now because I've introduced her to the channel. And I'm sure she probably will watch this. And I just have to tell you, dear soul, you could not have showed up at the most prime, perfect time. And I want to thank you for helping me come full circle here and creating my new identity. And left there in tears, she said that she had this other tattoo that she wanted to get that was of a woman with the muscles and saying under it, saying that self-made, because she knew that she was becoming stronger as a woman and that it took all these things she went through and these experiences to do it. And I said, and she happened to say to me, well, I want to get this tattoo, but I've been holding off because of me going through a change financially. I can't afford it right now. And so I began to kind of say, you know, I just felt guided to like help support her in that tattoo. And I said, how much is it? She didn't know. And all I can tell you is that I only had a certain amount of cash on me. But that ended up being her tip, and it was a nice, healthy tip. It wasn't enough probably to 100% cover the tattoo that she desires, but I told her it was to support her on that tattoo. And it was so gratifying to see her and just to give to her in such a way, because she's such a giving person, because even before she knew that, she said to me, you know, we go through a lot as hairdressers with, you know, think about people's hair. This is all about identity, and being a hairdresser is not an easy thing. And she's like, we get so many people, you know, that make it such a hard job, and everything has to be a certain way and all these things with your hair. She goes, but then when somebody like you comes along and you can recreate them and you can help them and you can, you know, see that you're an appreciation of them and their service, she's like, it makes it all the worthwhile. And I just want to thank you, because you have helped change my life here in the full circle of who I am, coming into this full evolutionary process of myself, coming full color. And this is fully representation of that. And I got to still tell you too, in that process, I still walk by the mirror and I crack up, right? And I went to the wedding, and that night after she fixed my hair and did my hair, I went out and bought a dress. At the beginning, I'm going to make sure to show you somewhere in this video. You'll see the dress. It's a dress I would have never bought had my hair not been changed. It was even one of those dresses I probably would have walked by so many times and just been like, oh, I wish I could wear that, but it probably either wouldn't fit or it's not me, or on and on. But it was totally me. And everyone, like, just commented so much on that dress. It's so beautiful, and it allowed me to step out and be more of who the new me is. That's the big key here. You know, we're becoming the new us and letting, like, all of our change. And, you know, I've been telling you guys, it's our internal vibration that's changing our external reality. And that's down to our identity. So if you've been struggling, and if you've been fighting, and if you've been trying to resist this change and this shift and these cycles and becoming all of you, you know, I want to share with you 3 ways to help you come into your true colors and allow your true colors to shine. So the morning after, basically, I had this done. I woke up, and before I even got out of bed, I had this huge smile on my face because I could just see myself in the mirror, and I hadn't even opened my eyes yet. And so I want you to wake up, number one, put a smile on your face. And just be grateful for everything that's in your life and everything that you're going through and everything that's happening to you and all the goodness of where you are, because it's all beautiful, because it's all a part of you. And I'm going to share some updates with my personal circumstances when I finish this, because there's been things that's shifted, changed, and even more that's happened and still happening as I speak. But before I do, I want to finish these 3 ways. The second way is for you to actually then look in that mirror every morning and say out loud, I accept the fullness of who I am. I accept the fullness of who others are. I accept the fullness of all that is. I accept the fullness of who I am. I accept the fullness of who others are. I accept the fullness of all that is, because it's all perfect, and it's all part of me, and it's all for my greater good, and it is all a blessing. Number 3, write your future self a letter. I want you to write your future self, and I want you to intuitively date that letter for a date that comes to your heart and your soul without your mind kicking in to think. And I want you to write that future self to that self and see that person and encourage that person and see that person for who they are and who you see them to be and who you desire that person to be. And when you feel complete, you fold that letter up, you seal it, you put it in an envelope, you date it for whatever date that comes to your heart, and mark your calendar for that day. And I want you to go back on that date when it comes, and I want you to read that letter out loud in the mirror to yourself. And I will be excited to hear the change that you've made as you recreate yourself in this new earth heart language and your future self, who they become. Go out there and find your truth. don't be afraid to recreate yourself. And don't put limitations on anything, because something, and it is always better than what we could have thought in our own mind, right? I can't tell you how many people have been like, I think I like you. I know I like you better as a brunette than even the blonde, right? And it's so funny because my eyes always change colors. And as a blonde, I have blue eyes more often than green. But my eyes have been as green can get, in this poppy green now. And even though I laugh every day looking at it, there's a part of me that knows it's here to stay. And again, I don't know how long. I walked out of the salon. I was supposed to have a second follow-up for the highlights within like a week or two later. And this happened a week ago today. And when I walked out, I said, I'll be back. But I don't know when, because I probably won't be back to get the highlights anytime soon. And so, wow. Now I want to thank you all for your prayers for my father and all of your courage, encouragement for me and my personal self as I'm changing this new external identity. My father has been doing better. He got out of the hospital last week at the end of the week. So thank you so much for all your thoughts, prayers, energy, and messages. And he has done pretty well over the week, but his hemoglobin levels are really low to the point of close to transfusion. And now he's been sick again all night last night and potentially going back in the hospital today. Now, I told you guys, step out of your circumstances to help others. I'm here again. And I've had new developments happen as well. So yesterday, I did not get the video done for you guys. And as I tell everyone, it's going to come to you, and anything's going to come at the perfect time. So for whatever reason, even for delivering this video today on a Friday instead of yesterday and a Thursday is better. But the reason I could not get this video done yesterday is because my ex-husband had a massive heart attack and coded. And everything lined up to be exactly in perfection because he drives a truck and he happened to be in a school instead of driving. And a nurse that used to be a cardiac nurse that did CPR on him until the paramedics got there that had to paddle him. And when they paddled him, he came to, and he's been in an induced coma until this morning. And now he's disoriented and doesn't know what happened because his body's still in such a state of shock. My son and daughter both came emergency in town, kind of from out of town. So I've had company, and I am going to see clients this afternoon. I'm supposed to go see my dad this afternoon or tomorrow, and I have a niece that's having a 13-year-old party tomorrow it's a surprise, and I was really hoping to make that. I don't honestly, again, tell you, I don't know what's happening in my life, but I'm staying present. I'm staying in the moment. And I'm only doing what I can because I know it's all perfect. I want to continue, thank you for your continued prayers with my family right now, and especially my ex's family. And if you guys have not followed my story of even my ex and his new wife that I wrote about in my book of how we've remained friends and how you never know how people are going to enter your life, where his new wife makes it a point to go out of her way to send me special messages and say just those words of, you don't know why people show up in your life, but I'm grateful that you're mine. It's a beautiful experience when you can get past the pain. And sure, him and I had hurt words, but we managed to get past that, and we have remained friends for several years now because we've been divorced a long time. But in the process of this, everything does happen for a reason. And step out of your circumstances, continue to come into your full alignment, your full circle, your full color, and be all that you came here to be, do, and have. Make sure to check out all the ways you can shine and glow forward with me, and may you always face your fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Namaste.